Tonight's bold question, will the jury be biased in the George Zimmerman murder trial? Today, day 2 of jury selection for the man who shot and killed Trayvon Martin. Potential jurors standing up in court, answering questions from the attorneys. All this as the court tries to find 6 men and women to sit in judgment of accused murderer George Zimmerman. Who will make it past the challenges of the defense and the challenges of the prosecution? What will the final seminal 6 look like? Brian Smith is standing by with our own in-studio pool of potential jurors. And tonight, our experts will pick a jury. Which 6 of our in-studio jurors will our experts accept? And which 6 will they reject? Joining us from New York, Double J, Joey Jackson. On the left coast tonight, criminal defense attorney Darren Kavanoki. Our in-studio experts tonight, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Holly Hughes. Defense attorney David Myers, and assistant DA from Gwinnett County, Georgia, Sabrina Nizam. HLN correspondent Gene Casares is in Sanford, where the actual jury selection is taking place. Now, the search continues tonight for 6 jurors to figure out what exactly happened the night George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. Tonight, we begin with Florida versus George Zimmerman, the next big trial, the case that could divide a nation.
He just said he shot him. Yes, the person is dead, laying on the grass.
Just because he's laying on
the ground. Oh, my God.
February 26, 2012. 17-year-old Trayvon Martin shot and killed. Now George Zimmerman, the man accused of pulling the trigger, is heading to trial, charged with murder.
I felt his arm going down to my side, and I grabbed it, and I just grabbed my firearm and I shot him one time.
You watch the case unfold right here on HLN. The grieving parents.
I'm hoping that one day, he's gonna walk through the door, and this is gonna be a nightmare.
The protests.
Trey! Trey! Trey!
And the arrest.
George Zimmerman is in custody of law enforcement.
Now watch George Zimmerman's murder trial unfold live, right here on HLN. Let's go right to our in-studio jury and ask the question that Vinny just mentioned. Yes or no, will the Zimmerman jury be biased? Yes if you think they could be biased, no if not. A lot of yeses and a spattering of no's too, 2 no's. But a lot of yeses. Let's talk to Lauren first, our juror number 1. You say yes, they'll be biased.
I do. I just think it's such a widely known trial, and I just don't see any way around it.
So it's all the media coverage that could influence them right away. Now, Colleen, you say no.
I know. I used to think yes, but after watching on TV and when they ask people about that, there's a lot of people that just watch like Netflix and things like that, and they just don't watch TV and don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, not everybody knows everything about this case and watches it every day. Now, what I find interesting here, guys, is Colleen and John are husband and wife, and you got a yes and no. So what's up with that, John?
Well, you still have 6 people, and to find 6 people that just watch Netflix and things like that, I think it's going to be very hard. Okay. So you're going to have at least 1 or 2 people that are going to be on that jury that have to be biased, that have heard something about it, know something about it, and will not be honest in their answers to the lawyers and during the process.
All right, very interesting. I wonder who's going to control the remote control in their house, right?
Yeah. Well, not being honest. You know, right now we're in what's called the voir dire process, which is, and I don't know, is that Latin? Is that Latin, voir dire? What language is it? Is that French?
It's French.
All right. I only took Italian, okay? Give me a break. So anyway, voir dire. Yeah, I guess it's French, voir dire, to speak the truth. And today we heard some more from the jury as they're asked questions from the lawyers. And these comments, pretty interesting. Take a listen.
There's a shooting. There's a fight that led to a shooting.
Anything else that comes to mind?
I know George Zimmerman was involved when Trayvon Martin died.
Your initial knowledge of the case, that a lot of people have taken sides.
Right.
Tell me what you mean by that.
There seems to be a lot of people that feel Mr. Zimmerman shot Mr. Martin, or followed him, attacked him based on his race. On the other side, there's a lot of people that think, it seems to have the opinion that Mr. Martin was some sort of thug that was looking for a fight.
He didn't wait. Or the police weren't quick enough. I don't know which came first, but he didn't listen to the police officer or whomever was telling him to wait.
Really a fascinating process, this voir dire. And, you know, I know our juror number 6 is a little skeptical about him telling the truth, but I kind of believe these jurors. Let me go out to Gene Casares, who is down in Sanford, Florida for all this. Gene, what's your headline from today, day 2 of jury selection?
10 jurors individually questioned today. We're moving along, and I think there's just everything all over the gamut. There were some opinions expressed by jurors. Others said they had no opinion at all. One juror said that it was inappropriate to have an opinion. He was offended by anyone that had an opinion. An African-American gentleman said that he believed that many of the marches when Trayvon Martin was shot and killed were to build agendas, and he didn't agree with it.
Gene, how are things going, though? Does it seem like this is moving at a pace where we will get a jury sooner rather than later?
That's a good question. You know, this whole focus right now at the individual questioning, as you know, is pre-trial publicity. There are a lot of other hot-button issues that have not been addressed yet, such as gun rights, such as issues with racial lines, and was this racially motivated? My big question is there going to be individual questioning for that, or is that going to be part of a large group discussion with potential jurors?
Gene Casares, live in Sanford. Thanks so much, Gene. Appreciate it. All right, so we've heard some from these jurors. They've been speaking, hopefully speaking the truth, right? What I want from my experts, one word to describe these juror comments that we're hearing.
Revealing.
Revealing, Holly Hughes.
Revealing.
Okay, all right. David Myers, one word.
Interesting.
All right, Sabrina Nizam.
I'm going to have to say surprising. Yes.
Let's go to Double J. Joey Jackson, one word.
Honest.
Yes. Did you hear that, number 6? Honest. All right, Darren Kavanoki, the king of one word.
Hey, thank you. First, I've got one word for David Myers and his haircut. I want to say spectacular.
There you go.
But when it comes to this jury, I want my combinoki for the day is advocational. It was certainly educational to hear what they had to say, but everybody's advocating. Everybody's got an agenda.
All right, I've just got a telegraph from Mike Brooks. He agrees with you on the haircut. Thank you so much.
And I gather when this discussion was had among, you know, the two different people and yourself, would you say you were in the middle? Yeah, in terms of opinions, or?
Yeah, I compared to them, I didn't have an opinion. I was like, yeah, it's tragic. You know, I'd like to know more.
Jury selection continuing today down in Sanford, Florida. And joining me in the HLNTV.com evidence room, prosecutor from Gwinnett County, Georgia, Sabrina Nizam. Sabrina, thanks so much. And some people call it jury selection. I call it jury rejection, and this is why. It's all about eliminating people. And so far, 71 jurors have been eliminated from the pool, some before voir dire, some of them afterwards. But I want to take a look with you and get your perspective as a prosecutor as to some of those who have passed to the next round. Let's begin with B76, because we don't know their names, we only know their numbers. B76 is a white female in her 40s. She's married with a daughter. Family does not have cable TV, believes everyone deserves a fair trial, has not formed an opinion. What do you think of that as a prosecutor?
I love B76. I love this prosecutor. She doesn't have cable. That is like a miracle these days. She's not tainted.
I don't like her because she can't watch the show, but anyhow.
Good point, good point. But she is a fabulous juror. I think she can be open, and she's not as tainted as some of the other potential jurors.
And as a prosecutor, you like that?
I love her.
Okay.
I love her.
All right, B76 is in for you. Let's take a look at B29 here. This is, B29 is a black female in her late 20s, married with 7 children. But this is another important fact. Just moved to Florida 4 months ago, doesn't know much about the case, wants to be a juror even though it will be hard emotionally on her. And why don't we do this? You want to take a listen to something that B29 said. Let's take a listen to that.
And back when you were in Chicago, do you recall hearing anything about the case, even if you didn't really pay attention to it?
I probably heard of the news, but never paid attention to it. It wasn't something that stood in my, like a Martin Luther King situation, like a holiday. It wasn't something that I remembered.
All right, B29, as a prosecutor, do you like her or not like her?
I don't like her that much. I
Really?
don't.
7 children?
7 children. She's going to be extremely distracted. She may want to get away from her 7 children, but I think she's going to be very distracted when she's in the jury box. And She's in her late 20s. She's young. Don't know how much life
Trayvon Martin
experience.
was young.
He was young. He was young. But this is a juror. This is a juror. We've got to bring experience, life experience. I don't know how much she has.
All right, you don't like
Not real crazy about her.
B29.
No.
How about a shot of B12? Let's take a look at B12. B12, white female in her 50s, saw news accounts when the shooting first happened, watches CSI, remembers Zimmerman raised money to help pay bills and said, quote, "I have not formed an opinion."
Well, I think that this is our red flag. Anybody who watches CSI is going to have a preconceived notion of what the prosecution should prove through some sort of evidence. Most people don't realize that CSI is Hollywood.
It's Hollywood
Don't
and it's
like
not
it.
real? Okay, so
Yep.
you don't like B12,
Nope.
you don't like B29, but B76 is on your jury. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's what we got. Ryan over here looking at the actual jurors who passed to the next round of voir dire.
All right, and by the way, speaking of jury selection, we're doing our own version of jury selection. You see our in-studio jury here, 12 men and women. Well, the Zimmerman jury has 6, and we're going to have 6. How are we going to do that? We're going to see who made the cut and who got voted off the island. It's coming up.
The issue here is not whether potential jurors have seen the case, have heard the case, or have formulated opinions. The issue is whether they can put it aside and listen and evaluate the facts as they come out in a court of law. I believe in justice. I believe in our system, and I believe, more importantly, in the human spirit. It can get done. It will get done. At the end of the day, the verdict will be crystal clear, and that verdict will represent justice no matter which way it goes.
I just remember them showing the pictures of George Zimmerman, what he looked like, that they didn't show for months later.
What most stands out in my mind is that it was just very unfortunate. A very unfortunate incident.
I remember something about in Florida, remember a gated community stated, and I knew somebody was a teenager.
Okay, anything else?
That's about it.
One of the most important parts of any trial is jury selection. So here's what we're going to do. All of our jurors right here, they're now potential jurors. And just like in the Zimmerman trial, we're going to get a 6-person jury from our group right here. Now, each one of our in-studio jurors has submitted a questionnaire to us. Holly Hughes has got it for the prosecution, and we'll allow you to ask one question of one of the potential jurors.
Okay, I want to talk to number 5, who is the Mrs. half of our married jurors. You told us on your questionnaire your thoughts on racial profiling, and you said it should not exist. Opinion should be based on specific information. So clearly you don't like the fact that Trayvon was profiled. Do you feel that you shouldn't prejudge the defendant either?
Yes, I do believe that you should not prejudge him. I mean, it's hard not to have any opinion at all if you've got some information, but you really have to be willing to wait and get it all before you really make a final judgment.
Okay, thank you.
Holly, who do you strike?
Okay, I'm going to have to strike number 9 tonight, Ryan.
Number 9?
Yes.
Who is surprised, by the way. Why are you? Tell us why. Tell us why, by the way.
Well, on her questionnaire, she goes into quite a bit of detail about profiling, and she says, I can see potential benefits in extreme cases, and it sounds like she might be susceptible to buying into the defense here that profiling is didn't happen here, and it's okay in certain situations.
What do you say to that?
I'm a little relieved.
You will proudly take your ex right here.
Oh, that's great, because normally jurors hate you when you strike them. Look, I did her a favor.
All right, David Myers, come on over for the defense. You'll have the same treatment. You've got one question to ask the one juror.
All right, we'll start with juror number 3.
Juror number 3.
Ma'am, you indicated on your questionnaire that your son is a deputy sheriff, correct? My question to you is, do you talk to him about the specifics of his cases that he makes? And do you think that him being a deputy sheriff would bias you towards the defense?
No, I don't talk to him about his cases because he's not in that position where he arrests anybody. He's a school resource officer. So most of the cases that he has is about students fighting in school and things of that nature. But we have discussed this case, and I am still on the fence as to what actually happened.
All right, David, who do you strike?
I am going to strike juror number 2.
Okay, why is that?
On his questionnaire, as far as whether or not he had formulated an opinion, he indicated that yes, and he believed that Trayvon Martin was in fact the victim. He did say he was open to the defense's presentation, but he made the wrong decision.
Oh, defense doesn't like those apples. What do you say, Rip?
That was the question I was suspect of myself, but I think that was your interpretation of my question, because Trayvon is dead, so he is a victim.
That's correct. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so you had a different interpretation, but I still got to give you the X. All right, Vinny?
Interesting. 2 strikes. We're down to what? That's 12, down to 10. Got to get down to 6. Darren Kavanoki, I want to ask you about voir dire and the whole process here. How well do you think you really get to know the jurors, and how much honestly, you see, I had to say honestly, Darren, how much honestly do you base it on, you know, just a gut feeling on what they look like, you know, whether it's a look in their eyes or something like that?
It is so tough, and we've talked about this before, Vinny, that jury selection is considered by most to be the most important part of the case. You can have the best case in the world, but if you don't have an audience that's receptive to hearing it, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's just so amazing to hear and see what we're doing right here on After Dark, how we'll ask a question and we'll make that answer subjected to our own interpretations, and at the end of the day, it's exactly what you described. You got to go with gut feeling, and as a lawyer that tries cases, you better hone that skill and get good at it.
I want to ask our 2 attorneys here. You read the profiles and then you saw the jurors.
Right.
Did anything about that surprise you?
I was very surprised when I started making my notes as far as the jurors who were adamant that they had made a decision about this case. And before we started the program, I'm looking over and I'm looking to see the African-American jurors and the white jurors. And surprisingly, the white jurors were the ones that were most opinionated and already formed an opinion about the case. That's what surprised me.
Very interesting. Much more After Dark.
If I were to throw out a couple of stations like Fox News or CNN, HLN.
HLN's trial experts are back, inside the courtroom, inside every angle.
Are there particular ones of those that if you were to watch, you would?
I don't really watch hardly any news at all.
I'm more of a Bravo.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm more of a Bravo channel, like drama shows.
What kind of shows do you like to watch?
Like real New Jersey housewives.
2 down, 4 to go. We're doing our own version of After Dark jury selection right here. 2 have gone, and 4 more of these to give out. Now, Holly, you'll have a chance to ask 1 question, then strike 2 jurors. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Let's ask number 8. She wrote on her questionnaire, she said, I haven't been in a physical altercation in years. So tell me a little bit about what happened.
I'm a grown woman, mother of 3 now. So I don't tend to fight or get in altercations. However, I was in a domestic situation at one point. So I have been a victim of violence.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Holly,
you very much.
What 2 jurors would you strike?
Okay, I'm going to have to strike number 10. Okay. And it's pretty much what we talked about earlier, that he talks a lot about profiling, and he says in some cases it can be a good thing. In some cases it can be legitimate. He might be a great prosecution juror, but I don't want to take the chance. So number 10's got to go.
Let me get a quick thought from number 10.
I'm surprised. I thought I was being pretty open-minded about it. I think I am pretty open-minded about it. It wasn't racial profiling specifically. It was just profiling in general. But
okay. You were being honest. And
I
look
was
at how
being
you got penalized. They gave you a red button. How about that? Holly, who's your other one?
No, my other one is number 12. And number 12 is so smart, and she knows so much about this. Sometimes when we put people who are familiar with law and policy on the jury, they tend to criticize the lawyers' performances more than pay attention to the evidence. So that's why number 12, we don't want her being the foreperson, because whoever side she's on, she's gonna be the leader of this jury if we put her on it.
You got kicked off for being too smart. Okay, that's what Holly Hughes just said to you.
No, they're all smart, but her particular area of expertise, if she takes charge of this jury and she's not on my side, I'm a goner.
You got kicked off for being too smart. How do you feel about that?
I could be kicked off for worse things.
Okay. And she said to me earlier, by the way, she's avoided jury selection all this time. She comes on this show and gets a red X. How about that?
But she looks good doing it, doesn't she?
All right,
she
absolutely.
looks beautiful doing it.
All right, David, for the defense, come on over. You've got one question of one juror. Go ahead.
All right, this question is for juror number 11.
Juror number 11.
Juror, you indicated that when asked the case about whether or not you formed an opinion, you indicated that it should not have happened and could have easily been avoided. What I'm asking you is there something that Trayvon Martin could have done to have avoided this situation?
Basically, he was walking in the rain. He was headed home. Had he thought someone was following him, and he thought someone was following him, I would have made beeline myself to where I was going. And so I don't know if that was the case with him.
All right, David, who do you strike?
The first one I'm going to strike is juror number 6.
Juror number 6? Why?
The reason being is that in his questionnaire, he stated, I believe, Mr. Zimmerman is guilty.
What?
At this point,
An objection.
counsel striking
Okay.
juror number 6. I think counsel at this point, from my count, has struck 2 white males so far. So I would like to ask counsel what race-neutral reason you have to strike 2 consistent white males in a row, because I think you're concentrating on race here, counsel.
My basis for striking those 2 white male jurors, or white jurors, was because that those 2 have both indicated that they had formed an opinion about the case, and that opinion went against the defense. It had nothing to do with race or anything like that. It was solely based on their answer.
I need a judge here. Hey, Judge Vinny. Vinny, I want you to jump in on this. I want you to rule for me. How do you rule?
I'm going to keep the strikes.
Okay.
Strikes are okay. They formed an opinion. I mean, I think he came up with a good race-neutral reason.
All right. You got the strike. How do you feel?
Well, I was just being honest. And, yeah, from the evidence that we hear on TV, which really isn't evidence, that's what my opinion is based on. But if I was in a jury and listening to the evidence, that's what I would base my opinion on.
All right, there you have it. David, who's your next strike, Dave?
My next one for the over here will be juror number 4.
Juror number 4. She says, why, Dave?
The reason being is her statement that Mr. Zimmerman murdered an innocent, unarmed teenager. That's all I needed to hear.
Okay, what do you say?
Well, he was innocent. He was walking. He wasn't committing a crime at the time Zimmerman was driving. So, in my opinion, he's innocent of just walking home.
And that's why you get the shiny red X.
Oh, boy. There you go. Vinny, what do you have?
All right, I'm back here in the HLNTV.com evidence room. I want to show you some evidence for our next bold question, which is, was Trayvon acting suspiciously? And let's begin by taking a listen to the initial phone call George Zimmerman made to the police non-emergency on why he thought Trayvon was suspicious.
This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes.
All right, next I want to show you the neighborhood where Trayvon was in and where everybody was at that time. George Zimmerman was making his way down here, rounding this corner, and saw Trayvon Martin over here on the front lawn of one of the residents, Frank Taffy. Apparently, Trayvon Martin had cut through this area coming back from the 7-Eleven, because in this gated community, this part of the neighborhood was not gated, and it was a shortcut to get back to where he was, in fact, going. Next, I want to show you some video. I went to the neighborhood at night, and I stood in the spot where George Zimmerman said he saw Trayvon Martin. We put a camera inside a car which was driving the same route George Zimmerman was driving. And as we take a look at this video, you'll be able to see me standing on that front lawn. And the question is that, in fact, suspicious? Is there anything, folks, that you see here that makes me look suspicious standing on this front lawn in front of this house at night? Because that's where George Zimmerman said he saw Trayvon Martin standing that night. So that's our next bold question. Was Trayvon Martin acting suspiciously? We'll get some answers from our experts next. All right, here's the bold question we're dealing with right now. Was Trayvon Martin acting suspiciously? Now, I showed you the map. I showed you some other things. Here's some of the clothing that he was wearing that night. He's wearing a pair of sneakers, right? Kids wear those. Also, the infamous gray hoodie that he was wearing. I mean, and a pair of jeans. I mean, it's that simple, what he was wearing at the scene. What do you think?
There's no gang colors. He's not sporting a bandana. He's not flashing anything that would, you know, link him to a neighborhood gang. The young man is walking home, talking on the cell phone. He's not peeking into windows. He is not doing anything that he didn't have every right to do. There is no suspicious activity here.
The problem is, Trayvon Martin did not walk directly home. He's walking all over the place. He's looking suspicious. He's walking around.
But what is suspicious about him walking? He's not doing anything.
He actually walked away from his home.
But George Zimmerman didn't know where he lived. So how did George know he was walking away from the home?
But Trayvon Martin knew where he lived, and he turned and walked away. Why not go home if somebody's following you?
Because he's talking to his woman on the phone. He don't want to go in and talk to his woman in front of Daddy. He's having a
let's do this. Let's do this. Let's have Joey Jackson break the tie here. Joey Jackson, was Trayvon Martin acting suspiciously?
The answer is I can't break the tie because it depends on the spin that you place it. From a defense perspective, it's a neighborhood watch person. He's looking. He doesn't recognize him from the neighborhood. He's walking aimlessly about. And so, sure, from a prosecution's perspective, however, he's walking home. He's innocent. He got his Skittles. He has his iced tea. He doesn't know the way around the neighborhood. And as a result of that, of course, he's not suspicious. This will be spun in a courtroom. How it turns out is going to be up to a jury to decide.
You know, Ryan, I look at this issue, you know, what is not suspicious? Is it all in the eyes of who is looking at the time? I don't know.
You know what? It's all going to be in the eyes of the 6-person jury. That's what it's really going to come down to. By the way, we got our in-studio jury, our jurors who made the cut in the front, the ones that got voted off the island in the back. Don't worry, guys. Y'all get to vote. I got a question for you. Very important question. Was Trayvon Martin acting suspicious?
Wait, Ryan. Before the jury votes on whether they believe Trayvon was acting suspiciously, they need to see my mystery reveal tonight. Let's take a look at it, folks. Here it is. Look at it. Can you see it? Some wavelengths there. It's another phone call made by George Zimmerman just a few weeks before he saw Trayvon. He saw someone else on the same lawn where Trayvon Martin was. That individual, also black, also prompted Zimmerman to call police. Now, I spoke to the man who owns the house where Zimmerman saw both Trayvon and this other teenager just weeks before. Take a listen.
He says he sees Trayvon right here, and he points right to the front of my house.
Right here?
Right here. Actually, he was up under the overhang, is where George says, and then he sees him right here. He watched him, and he moved down to this point right here. And as he was sharing, to me, and you would agree, Vinny, that this is where it all starts.
So the question, and the question's got to be answered at the trial is, okay, there's somebody on your yard. He knows this is your house.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And he knows who lives in your house.
Yeah, because 3 weeks prior to that, he called non-emergency 911.
About somebody else that was by your house.
Yep. He saw a young black male sitting up there smoking a cigarette.
All right, so does the fact that Zimmerman saw someone else near the same spot where he first saw Trayvon do anything to make Trayvon's actions look more or less suspicious here, Ryan?
Interesting. All right, now let's put the question to the jury. Was Trayvon Martin acting suspiciously, yes or no? All right, a lot of no's, a few yeses. You say no.
No, I don't think he was acting suspicious. He was talking to his girlfriend on the phone, and he was just walking. Probably pacing back and forth, probably thinking of the next question he was going to ask her.
All right, yeah. You know what? That's a perfectly logical explanation, but you say yes.
Well, I think given what we just heard, though, if George knew who actually lived there, that was out of place. So he had reason to suspect, not necessarily that Trayvon was doing something he shouldn't have been, but he was out of place and had reason to kind of stop and check it out. He was part of the neighborhood watch, so he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Okay, I think these, Vinny, are going to be the same kinds of discussions they're going to have in that jury room once a jury is selected in this case.
Yeah, Sabrina, what do you think about the action? Suspicious?
You know what? As a prosecutor, most of our cases are based from suspicious activity, and this is absolutely not suspicious. There is nothing that would raise a red flag, even to a law enforcement officer driving by. Not suspicious at all.
Darren Kavanaugh, let me ask you about that. If a law enforcement officer saw the same thing that George Zimmerman saw, could he lawfully stop and detain that person?
Wow, it does not sound like it. It seems like any evidence that would result from that detention could be suppressed on the basis of an illegal search and seizure. I certainly would not want to defend a law enforcement officer who had made a stop and then a search based on what little activity we've seen so far.
All right. Now, coming up, there was a verdict today. I don't know if you guys know, but it wasn't in this case. We're just at the beginning of this case, but it was the end of another big murder trial. We're going to have that verdict for you next.
There are many vexing issues in this case, and it's certainly sure to divide the country. One thing that's certain, though, and that is the evidence will come out in a courtroom. Certainly, we'll debate it on air. We'll have friendly discussions and not so friendly discussions. But at the end of the day, we have to respect the jury's verdict once the jury is impaneled, and we know and our system demands that we get it right. I call for calm, peace, and unity as we get this done.